Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirk Pattycake. I'm an author, robot, and I'm going to die alone, but I digress. Today is an exciting day because today we are reading your stories that you submitted. So for the last month of September, there's been a little link for a flash fiction prompt sort of contest thing where you take the prompt and you write whatever you're inspired to write. And today we're reading the submissions. I'm so excited to read them. I haven't read them yet because I was waiting to read them for the first time with you. So thank you so much to everybody who submitted. I'm very excited to read them. And before we get started, make sure that you imagine this channel, this episode, this video, like it is a highway and you are desperate to get a ride to your destination and, show me that thumb. Also, if you like the kind of content we do on this channel, please remember to subscribe because there will be more of all sorts of things. Don't know what yet, but there will be more. Now, before we get started on October's stories, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about next month. So for November, if you thought that this was a good idea and was a fun idea and you'd like to participate again, there is a new link down below for a new prompt, and you have all of October to think up an idea. Any genre is fine as long as you are within the 750 word limit. Bring it on. Nonfiction, fiction, any spectrum in the fiction area. Looking forward to it, and I hope that you will submit again because I'm so excited for this. Before starting, here was what the prompt for the October stories was. The story should start off with the phrase, "Something was off. Either she couldn't follow directions or the boy couldn't give them." And this is what you guys came up with. The first story is by Blake Folkner.
Something was off. Either she couldn't follow directions or the boy couldn't give them. She stared at him blankly as he brushed his hair out of his eyes and tried to spit the sentence out correctly the second time. Sorry, the damn jet lag does a number on my bucket. Lightly tapping a clenched fist against the side of his head, she smiled. The guy was a real mess, in a charming kind of way. The kind of guy barely has 2 coins to rub together, but could make walking through a convenience store a hilarious adventure. He just had that fun air about him. It didn't hurt that he was handsome underneath all that shaggy hair. Hey, you listening? Yeah, sorry. I'm terrible with directions. This is my first time at the station, she said. Yeah, I haven't been here in a bit myself. Not since Akina was the emperor. The place sure has gotten brighter, though. Anyways, here. He was reaching into his pocket and pulled out a marker. Grabbing her hand as if they were old friends, he pulled the cap off his pen with his teeth and began to write an 8 on her palm. You want to take the 86 shuttle to Titan, and when you reach ZN6, you're gonna... Hey! A voice cried out from across the crowded aerospace pavilion. Shit, he rasped, flicking his eyes up from her hand to the man across the way. Grab him! Clenching the girl's hand he was writing on seconds ago, he whirled the 2 of them around the corner. Hey, let go! Listen, I'm sorry. Just tell them that I was only giving you directions. Catching her off guard, he pulled her in tightly and gave her a quick kiss. As she attempted to hit him in retaliation, he flashed a smirk as he quickly dipped into the layer of people passing by and vanishing from her sight. As 2 officers rushed up toward her, she looked down at the 86 he had scrawled onto her palm. It was nothing more than a smudge now. Several hours later, the port investigators finally determined the girl was telling the truth. The cameras confirmed that she had merely asked the guy for directions before getting wrapped up in everything. They released her and even refunded her ticket, and soon she was back to heading towards the 86th shuttle. They warned her against the man and gave her a number to contact if she saw him again. She had made her way to the shuttle dock. Time passed, and when the shuttle came, she boarded. The occupants gathered on and spaced themselves out. Luckily, she managed to get a few seats all to herself, giving her some comfortable distance from the nearest couple 3 rows down, who looked like they were from South Venus. It was getting late for colonies time anyway. Once settled into her seat, she finally breathed a sigh of relief and got comfortable. A short time later, after resting her eyes a bit, she reflected on the events of earlier and let out a chuckle over the absurdity of it all. What's so funny? Looking towards the sound of the voice, shocked, she said, You dirty, no good son of a... As she proceeded to swat at the smirking man leaning towards her from behind the chair next to hers. Hey, shh, I'm sorry. Stop making a scene. I said I'm sorry. Fighting off her flailing hands. What? Sorry for getting me in trouble, or sorry for that kiss that I didn't give you permission for? She said with a little fire in her voice, but her body language calmed. You choose. Now, can you hand me the clip tucked into the back of your pants? Huh? What are you talking about? She reached behind her and ran a finger along the inside of her pants. Her nail caught the lip of something plastic. Detaching it from her pants, she held up the pen cap from the marker used to write on her poem. Swiping it out of her hand and laughing, he said, "See? I thought you would get this past them easier if you weren't sweating knowing that you had it the whole time." "What? What is it?" "Hey, you used me." "This," holding the cap up, he said, "is my ticket to Earth."
Blake, that was super fun, and I'm really interested to see what is going on, why he's going to Earth, and these characters have really great chemistry together. Thank you for submitting. The next story is by Dr. Pepper Hate Blog .tumblr.com, and you can find her at you can find them at Pepper with a Pencil on Archive of Your Own.
Something was off. Either she couldn't follow directions or the boy couldn't give them. Emily jumped off the bus she was supposed to take home. She recognized the pastor's daughter from the uneven hair she had tied into a knot. The church had taught her to always help those in need. "Do you need help?" Emily asked, prompting the girl and boy to turn to face her. "My cousin doesn't know where the church is," the boy replied. I don't get how she's so stupid. She's even been there before." The girl can't find her own father's workplace, Emily thought. She must have some bad sense of direction. "I'll go with you," she said. The girl nodded slowly. Emily reached out her hand to help, but moved away. So shy. "Follow me," Emily said instead. As they walked down the street, Emily noticed the girl acting strange. She kept walking, despite the traffic light turning red, and stopped to smell the smoke coming from strangers' cigarettes. At one point, Emily could have sworn that she stopped to pick up a rock. Must be one of those mentally disturbed people, Emily thought. Once they reached the church, the girl grabbed Emily's arm. "My leg hurts," she said. "We walked for so long," Emily pointed out. "No, it hurts a lot. I think it's broken." Emily shrugged her arm out of the girl's grip. "We'll let your dad take a look at it." The girl looked confused again, prompting Emily to motion for her to follow. Perhaps she was a bit stupid after all, as the boy had said. Once they reached the church, Emily led the girl to the pastor's office. She had a particular one used for taking photos of the kids for Bible camp. Someone had pointed the camera against the desk instead of the chair for photos. Emily adjusted it back. The office was cozy, with teddy bears propped against the couch and the table with napkins for the inevitable crying kids would do. Before Emily could look around, the pastor walked in, wearing his usual fine coat. "Emily! Dolores!" Dolores, as the little girl was called, grabbed Emily's arm again. "Emily and I decided to play after school," Dolores said. Emily frowned and moved away. "No, I did not promise to play," she said, irritated. "Emily only says so because she's shy," Dolores said. Emily stared. How could she lie so easily? The pastor laughed. "Excuse my Dolores, she's very rebellious." He put a hand on Dolores' head and ruffled her hair, prompting the knot to fall out. "A shame I had to cut your hair," he told her. "She said her leg was hurting," Emily said. "No, it doesn't," No, it doesn't," Dolores replied, visibly "No, it doesn't," Dolores replied, visibly irate. Emily rolled her eyes. "God said love thy neighbor, but how was she supposed to do that when they acted like this? Anyway," she said, "I need to go home. My dog is waiting." "What breed? How old is it?" Dolores blurted out questions. She reached out for Emily again to touch her, but Emily recoiled. "My Dolores is desperate for attention," the pastor sighed. "I'll take care of it." "Thank you." Emily eyed Dolores, who looked defeated. Thank God the pastor had been there to stop that little psychopath. Who knows what could have happened if she was alone with her? As if Dolores had read her mind, she instantly burst into tears. Emily sighed. "Can I leave?" she asked. The pastor nodded. Emily walked out of the office, closing the door on the crying child. Kids these days, so self-centered.
The tension in that piece is so thick and so good. And again, with the great character chemistry, even when they're obviously tense with each other, just so good. So good. It's so interesting. You guys just write compelling stuff. What can I say? Holy cow. Great job, Pepper with the Pencil. Thank you for submitting. Now on to the next submission. It's from RSAlessi. Something was off. Either the boy couldn't give directions or she couldn't follow them. In the days that followed, she began to understand that the problem did not lie with either of them. The water filtration equipment wasn't functioning properly. Not good, because their home was an asteroid hurling through space. She missed the boy, even if he was bossy. Maintaining the water filtration equipment had been his job. Now he lay in a coma, cause unknown, and she couldn't revive him. She padded through silent rocky tunnels. She didn't want to watch more unhelpful tutorials. She didn't want to inspect alcoves of withering snake plants and devil's ivy. She didn't want to flush yards of plastic tubing rigid from an unknown orange contaminant. Death had already taken 16 of their crew. Theirs was a colonizing experiment, each member carefully selected, or so they were told. She and the boy hadn't been given a choice. Wards of the state, they found themselves assigned to this mission without consent. The adults had been excited. They whispered about fresh starts and commuted sentences. What that meant became clear later. The first month had been all glorious success. The adults paid her and the boy no mind so long as they did their chores. While the adults relaxed in private quarters or common areas, the girl and the boy explored every nook and crawl space. Familiarity with their new home saved them. She couldn't pinpoint the moment when things changed. Systems malfunctioned, people argued until someone fixed the problem, life calmed, then one day it didn't. Well familiar with the danger inherent in bad moods and ill tempers, the girl knew what to do, and she found the first body, a woman who treated her kindly. Time to hide. The boy hadn't wanted to hide. He was angry. The woman had been kind to him too. He wanted revenge. The girl knew better and persuaded him to go with her. The crew took a week to kill each other. Some tried to hide, but they did not know the ship. The adults' bodies did not fit in crawl spaces. The boy and the girl killed the only surviving adult, a gibbering monster of a man armed with a power drill. The boy did it, and she watched. For a week, they cleaned and carved. How to dispose of dead comrades explained a 20-minute tutorial. No amount of walking through empty tunnels calmed her, and she checked on the boy again. She stared at his lifeless body, wondering what she had done wrong. Time to check the yeast tanks. The boy hated his job. When he was still conscious, he left it to her. She didn't mind. The living yeast was like a pet, a useful one, because its bubbling, crusty growth formed the main component of their food. She cleaned, skimmered, checked water levels, and added sugar. Today, something smelled off, sour instead of sweet. The water lines, of course. The orange gunk clogged the lines. She knew what to do. Backwashing lines had become her primary job. The backwash didn't work. She watched the yeasty orange liquid seep into the fresh water line. Dead yeast was food. Live yeast caused illness. She dropped to her knees and clutched her belly. She snickered and chortled. Tears stung her eyes. She had the tutorials and she had the medicine. She could save the boy. First, though, she would reverse an incorrectly installed valve. The man in a white coat cut the video short. I'm calling this experiment a success. The woman beside him snorted. With 16 dead? The 2 children survived. It confirms my hypothesis. Children perform better than adults. The girl almost failed. Almost, but she didn't. We finally have something positive to report to the board. Together they looked through a viewport. Riddled with tunnels and living space, a massive rock filled the vast warehouse. What should we do with the survivors? I don't know. Let the board decide. Oof, that one gives me chills. That is such an interesting setup too. You get a really good feeling for the setting and also for like a sense of desperation and that sense of dread with everybody dying. Thank you so much for submitting this. And the last submission for today is by Anonymous, and it is called Another Year. Something was off. Either she couldn't follow directions or the boy couldn't give them. He couldn't give them. His mouth was full of red berries. She pulled the boy in a worn-out red wagon off the main road, down a hidden path into the woods. The wagon had been a good find for them at the beginning of their pilgrimage. She told the boy, "This will help us with the offering." He agreed and jumped in the wagon. She pushed and pulled the wagon with a sleeping boy through pine branches and scratchy manzanitas. The hidden path became rocky terrain as they reached their destination. Her muscles screamed from pulling dead weight through the forest. Her hands bloodied from the metal handles, cutting the flesh of her palms. It was worth sacrificing pain and some blood to reach the trees. "Almost there," she whispered while touching the skin of her forehead. She pulled the wagon through the tree line. A disembodied voice greeted her. "Submit your offering and receive your reward." She kissed the boy's cheek and hiked him over her shoulder, murmuring to him, "It's time, little one." and placed him at the base of the tree and backed away. The ground rumbled. Knuckled roots pushed through the ground like greedy fingers, wrapping around the boy, pulling him underground. The voice echoed across the meadow that separated the forest from her. Your offering has been accepted. Leaving the forest, she passed the bush heavy with red berries and purple flowers and smiled. She was safe for another year. Oh, that one gives me chills too. You guys, these are so good. I wouldn't mind seeing any of them pulled out into longer pieces and getting to know the characters. Like this one, Another Year, this feels like the prologue or the intro to a bigger piece that would be coming. But I mean, it's good. It's good as its own little short piece. But all four of these submissions are so compelling that I would continue to read all of these. They're better than any of the books that I've read in like the past month. No joke. They are more interesting than the books from HarperCollins that I have been reading. So if any of you guys write these into longer pieces and they publish anywhere or something, I would love to read them. Let me know, because I'm already invested in these people. I thank you so much for submitting to this and for letting me read your work. It is really my pleasure and my honor to get to read some of your guys' creative works that you did for this prompt. And I hope and look forward to you guys doing maybe the next one, because you guys are good writers. And and I hope that if you enjoyed these brave people who submitted, because this is very difficult and it is super scary to submit your work for other people to see, especially if you're not used to it. I mean, I don't think you ever fully get over seeing people react to your work, not gonna lie. But if you guys enjoyed or appreciate the stories, the people that submitted the stories, let them know your love in the comments down below. I super appreciate it. I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing what you do next with the next flash fiction contest. And if you build any of these out, what a better way to start off spooky season than with some of these fun, high tension shorts. And I'm looking forward to what you guys do next. With that said, please, if you enjoy this sort of content, like, share, subscribe, comment, join in on the next one, become part of the Patty Wagon. You guys rock. Until next time, I think that's all. I keep ranting. So until next time, check out the interview I did with author M.G. Mason about his new historical sci-fi novel. It came out on Monday. And until next time, have a great weekend and don't die. Dear Madam Astra, that's me. We regret to inform you that on August 1st, your employer, Agatha Jane Benedict, owner of the Benedict estate, peacefully passed away in her sleep. Oh, that's so sad. Wait. Let me try that again. Oh my goodness. That's so sad. Yeah, I think I'm ready. With millions of dollars on the line and the opportunity for your every need to be taken care of for life, tell me, is there anything more valuable than that? I didn't think so. Dead End Drive is a dark comedy novel that makes 3 promises. 1, an illustrious estate in Louisiana. 2, an opulent dinner affair for all in attendance. And 3, and most importantly of all, lots and lots of competitive murder. So if you're looking for a cozy book to settle in with for the spooky season, I've only got one question for you. Will I see you at the whale reading?